Good evening and welcome to State of Business on Now Television. I'm Chamud Fernando. Let's have a look at the headlines. Sri Lanka takes steps to strengthen trade ties with Austria. Board of Investment Sri Lanka explores cooperation with Indian businesses. Now the news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the need for the Employee Provident Fund and the Employee Trust Fund to be invested alternative funding instruments through a National Wealth Fund. The President said that this should be done moving away from the traditional investment of the fund in instruments such as bond and debentures through the central bank. He said this speaking at an event held in Colombo earlier this week.
We can ride out of this crisis, say by 2042. If you don't transform your economy to an export-oriented economy, long before 2042, the crisis will hit you again, somewhere between 2035 and 2040. Because while we got time to repay the debt, we'll be incurring more debt as we go along. This year, next year, year after, we are incurring debt. But if we transform ourselves into a highly competitive, export-oriented economy, to a digital economy, into a green economy, then we are on the road to a surplus. Our multidimensional poverty is now 25% of the population. And we've committed ourselves to bringing it down to 10%. What does it mean? It means that in the field of health, in the field of education and social care, there are many inadequacies that we have to target. In our Constitution, under Article 27(2)(f), we are committed to the dispersal of ownership, not to have it concentrated in the state or with a few businesses, but to spread it out, small ownership. The Employment Provident Fund and the Trust Fund, both, you will not require all the money, the central bank won't require all that money to be invested in your bonds and your debentures. So there's money available for investing. But to do so, we have talked with the trade unions and with the employers. So that's another way of ownership. Our National Wealth Fund and strengthening the cooperatives.
The Cabinet of Ministers has given the green light for new tax convention with Austria designed to prevent double taxation and curb tax evasion. A local newspaper reported that this agreement marks a significant step towards strengthening economic ties between the two nations.
The agreement, finalized after extensive discussions between the tax authorities of Sri Lanka and Austria, primarily focuses on the taxation of income and capital. One of the notable provisions of the convention is the imposition of a maximum tax rate of 10% on interest and goodwill, a move aimed at streamlining tax procedures and enhancing financial transparency. With the Cabinet's approval, the government is set to move forward with the formal signing of the convention. This agreement will be submitted in accordance with the Inland Revenue Act No. 24 of 2017, further aligning Sri Lanka's tax framework with international standards.
Concerns have been raised by the election monitoring organization People's Action for Free and Fair Elections regarding recent actions taken by the government ahead of the postal vote for the upcoming presidential election. In a press statement released yesterday, PAFROL Executive Director Rohan Hettiarachchi said that this is an attempt by the government to mislead state sector employees.
Hettiarachchi questioned the sudden ability of the government to propose a wage hike, recalling that only a few months ago the cabinet had claimed it was impossible to increase wages due to economic constraints. He stressed that the proposed wage hike, estimated to require 20 billion rupees per month, raises questions about how the government plans to fund it. PAFROL Executive Director Rohan Hettiarachchi said that announcing these measures just before the postal vote appears to be a serious attempt to sway state sector employees. He added that the decision to invalidate the nominations for the delayed local government elections, despite a recent court order to proceed with them, seems to be a clear act of contempt.
Stay tuned, we will return after this commercial break. Welcome back. Connect to Care and Global Health Strategies, in partnership with the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, recently hosted a pivotal discussion aimed at exploring economic opportunities between India and Sri Lanka. The discussions focused on aligning with India's ambitious goal of surpassing a $4 trillion GDP while simultaneously supporting Sri Lanka's economic recovery plan. The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka made this announcement in a statement recently.
The event took place with active participation from private sector representatives from Sri Lanka and potential investors from India. Representatives from the Indian CEO Forum, the Sri Lankan private sector, the Indian High Commission and the BOI collectively agreed to create a platform that promotes and enhances collaboration between the two nations. This initiative is expected to pave the way for increased bilateral cooperation, with the private sectors of both nations playing a crucial role in driving economic progress.
Marking a milestone in the ongoing collaboration between Sri Lanka and South Korea, aimed at providing employment opportunities for Sri Lankan workers, a group of 107 Sri Lankans departed to South Korea recently. According to the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau, these individuals are part of the 878th group of secure jobs in South Korea's manufacturing sector.
This latest departure comes as part of a broader effort under the Memorandum of Understanding between the Sri Lankan Foreign Employment Bureau and the South Korean Human Resource Development Institute. Over the past 8 months, a total of 4,368 Sri Lankans, including 83 women, have earned the opportunity to work in South Korea. This year, 3,899 Sri Lankans have embarked on their first employment journey to South Korea after successfully passing the Korean language proficiency test. Additionally, 469 others have returned for their second stint of employment in the country. The majority of these workers, 3,613 total, have secured their positions in manufacturing sector. Meanwhile, 623 individuals have been employed in the fishing sector and 8 have found jobs in the construction industry.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs launched online authentication process for birth, marriage and death certification in partnership with the Registrar General's Department at a ceremony held this Monday at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now you can witness some other news items in brief with the above.
With the new online process, Sri Lankan citizens can apply for the authentication of their birth, marriage and death certificates through the Consular Affairs Division's online platform. The authenticated certificates will be sent to the applicant via email, eliminating the need for in-person application or collection of the authenticated documents. The Consular Affairs Division has taken further steps to enhance its online document authentication services by integrating its electronic document authentication system with other key government authorities and entities, which include local universities, Sri Lanka Medical Council, Sri Lanka Police, the Department of Motor Traffic, TVEC, Department of the Registrar of Companies, British Council and trade chambers, thereby making document authentication services available to the public effectively. Royal Canin Sri Lanka, one of the local providers of all sorts of pet supplies including pet food, pet treats, dog supplements, has organized an event to educate the veterinary doctors and pet food outlet owners recently. Dr. Sanjay Vasala delivered the main lecture during the session. The event took place in Colombo to inform and educate the interested individuals in the subject.
තමන් කියන ආන්සර් එක හරිද වැරදිද කියන එක තීරණය වෙන්නේ ඒ කියන උත්තරේ තමන් ලබා ගන්න ප්‍රතිඵලය කොතරම් සාර්ථකද කියන කරුණ විතරයි.
Dr. Vijay Korea, who completes 60 continuous years with a microphone in hand, was felicitated by his closest at a magnificent event which took place in Colombo recently. Dr. Korea was presented a gold medal honouring his continuous services rendered to the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation and many corporate clients in a span of last 60 years behind the microphone. A group of musicians, some of whom personally attended the event to pay tribute to Dr. Vijay Korea, presented a tribute song for Dr. Korea to reminisce the yeoman service rendered by him to introduce and groom many popular musicians in the country.
Stay tuned for the stock update. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on positive notes today. The all-share price index gained 163.99 points to close at 10,837.10, and the S&P SL 20 gained 55.05 points to close at 3,045.39. The turnover was 1.4 billion rupees and over 43 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all our news for today. For this and more, subscribe our channel on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Take care and good night.